Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Mountaineer Locker Room Then and Now. Greg Christ, and I am joined right now by Mickey Plumley. Welcome in, Mickey.
Hey, Greg. How you doing, my friend? Good to be here.
Doing very well, thank you, and good to see you. Got Frank in the background working on some logistical things. He'll be with us here in just a moment or two. But before we get Frank, we've got let everybody know we have David Mayfield going to be joining us here in just a little bit, we hope. And I'm not going to give you – we got a surprise guest. I'm not going to give that away just yet. I'm going to let Frank do the honors on that. It's a friend of his and a foe of ours. So we'll let Frank take care of him here in just a few minutes. But, Mickey, I tell you, what a weekend for the Mountaineer baseball team. My goodness. Was that exciting or what?
What a weekend. Oh, my gracious. I tell you, Greg, some of the best baseball I've seen in a long, long time. You know, I was, since I majored in football at WVU, I was trying to keep track of all the scoring. I think I had to take my shoes off to count all the runs. But if I recall correctly, let's see, we scored 10 against Binghamton. And then the next morning, we scored 9 in the loss to Kentucky.
Yep.
And then 10 against Wake Forest, right?
Yep.
And then 11 in the afternoon win against Kentucky. And then 6 on the final day. So if I have enough fingers and toes here, I think we scored 46 runs in 36 innings. Is that right?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Binghamton, Wake?
Close.
No, 45 innings. 45 innings. Yeah, we played 5 games, right? Yeah, so that's almost it is a run an inning. Unbelievable. Boy, what an offense, huh?
Oh, gosh. And they, you know, I'm not going to lie and say that I was for sure all the way through. There were moments when I was cursing and fussing and cussing, and I'm like, what the heck's the matter with us? And then we would do something crazy and score 5 runs in the bottom of the ninth, and you know, just phenomenal to watch. And what a you know, the thing that really struck me about the whole thing was not only us winning, which was fantastic, that was awesome, but the reaction of the national media. You know, after the games ended with the country roads being sung by everyone and the excitement of the games, and the national media kind of fell in love with us there for a day or two, which is rare for WVU. Seems like we always get looked down upon. And I just thought the national media coverage was great. I think that, you know, I saw where we signed a football player, and he basically said, man, you watch the atmosphere at all the sports up there, and it's awesome. And he said, I want to be there. And so it's paying dividends in other places as well. But, man, these guys are just resilient. They don't give up. It's like they just don't think they're going to lose no matter what the circumstances are. And you know, bats going like that, they're going to be hard to beat if they hit like that. So, but it was just exciting. It was fun to watch. And even if you're not a Mountaineer fan, I think it was exciting. You know, the home run in the last inning there in the one game that won the game, and then scored on the single in the bottom of the 10th for the last game. I mean, it was just exciting all the way around, and the crowds were great. And you know, as a result, we're hosting the Super Regional. So, man, what a weekend! I know Frank wants to get in on this conversation. Frank, I'll let you jump in there. I know you were chomping at the bit to talk about this baseball team.
Well, thanks for soldiering on. We had a few tech issues, and we're connecting to California tonight, as well as West Virginia and Michigan, and so we've got those worked out. You know, I heard you guys talking about the game, and one of the things our family talked about, everybody was watching the game, is that, you know, sometimes doesn't happen every season, or sometimes not frequently, but there's a time when the sort of the spirit of the school and the place gets expressed through an athletic team. I remember when I was at West Virginia, and I came out of my office one day in the late 70s, and there was about 1,000 people in the middle of the quad campus, central campus, and it was moving. And I said, "What is going on?" The guy in the middle was Magic Johnson, and State had just won the national championship. And I wish I had a photo of that. But I'll tell you, you experienced it at that Syracuse game in '88, when people just wouldn't leave the stadium, and the Mountaineers were going on to the national championship game against Notre Dame. And I think we experienced it on Monday. I'll tell you, those scenes after the game absolutely went viral all over the country. ESPN picked it up, and I'll tell you, it was just what a phenomenal experience.
Yeah, and I've seen you talked about going viral. I saw several TikTok videos and Facebook videos where people would say, not a fan of, not a WVU fan, but this is what college sports is all about right here. And they, showed the end of the game and the singing afterwards, the country road singing afterwards. I don't know how many of those videos I've seen. So yeah, it did go viral. And, I think people are drawn to that when they see real true emotions from fans and players alike when it's related to their school. And, it's something that we're losing, it seems like every year, less and less. And I just think it was, it's going to pay dividends, not only just winning, like I said, but, the look of WVU and the sounds and all those things resonate with people, and young people love that atmosphere. Can't be beat. And I think it's going to pay some huge dividends down the road.
Yeah. When you think of Armani Guzman, he's my wife Kathy's favorite player, winning the regional last year at Clemson, and then winning it again with the winning hit. And then that scene saying, there's my mama. I mean, you can't script that. That's better than any fiction, and it's real life. And it's just well, and and Darren, if you could do this by way of introduction, put up the David Mayfield graphic so that we can show the folks. And David's in the back room watching. This is one of the reasons why Greg, Mickey, and I love doing this show, because it features Mountaineer alums, mostly football, but not only football, the excellence that they had on the football field, but also the excellence they've had in other walks of life. And you can see that David was a high school star, hell of a running back, was a great player at West Virginia with, playing almost 40 games in his career. But he also was a tremendous academic. And you can see that's the most number of lines there, all the kudos he received as an academic. And then now he's president and CEO of a bank, the Bank of Romney. And so, Greg, and Mickey, we talk about this week after week, but to be able to feature great athletes of the past who have really walked a phenomenal path in their career, personally and professionally, it's just so gratifying.
Yes, it is, and like you said, and we talk about it all the time, every week, the accomplishments that these folks have made after their time at WVU, and you look back, and like I said, I attended these games back in that day as a season ticket holder, watched David play, and you see such great athletes on the field. You don't think of them as being president of a bank or writing books, you know what I mean? And you have the perception of the athlete and not the person. And we're always so impressed by the things that they've accomplished, since they left WVU. So it's always exciting. So let's go ahead and get David on here and get a look at him live and in person. There he is.
Hey, Greg, how you doing today?
Doing great. Appreciate you joining us.
Hey, just so you know, I didn't see myself being the bank president either.
I was trying so hard to avoid what is it they call it, the dumb jock thing. I didn't want to say that. So you see people as athletes, and you don't think of them in other veins. And we've had so many former Mountaineers on here, and the accomplishments are just phenomenal. And you're no different in that regard. It's a pleasure having you on here. Watched you play back in the day and really enjoyed it. Usually the way we start these things off is we want to hear a little bit about you. Let's talk about your high school days, how you got recruited, who recruited you, and how you ended up at Morgantown.
Oh my goodness, that's long back. So obviously played at Morgantown High. Was there, grew up in Morgantown, so WVU wasn't new to me. And really didn't think of myself as anything probably up until about maybe 10th, 11th grade that, college football might be an opportunity. So started sending some tapes out and, things just kind of took off from there. You get on a couple of the recruiting lists and next thing you know, you're getting a whole bunch of calls, and mom saved the box of letters and a whole bunch of different things for many years. I finally got rid of them a couple of years back. But it was a weird experience for me because, I had never flown. So being recruited, first time I flew was going on a recruiting trip. So that was an interesting experience. The first one was to Illinois. They recruited me pretty heavy, and that recruiter called just about every night, so I felt obligated to take a trip out there. And he was a real nice fella. And then took a trip I think the next trip was to Stanford. So went from Illinois all the way out to the West Coast because I decided I wanted to see the West Coast if I could. Then turned around. The next trip, I think, was either Florida or Florida State. And I had SMU scheduled. So I was like, all right, because this is January. So you're a senior in high school in Morgantown. You're like, well, if I can be at the coast or in Florida. So I was going to go to Florida and then SMU and then back to Florida, and ended up going to Florida 3 times. Actually, because I don't know if you remember Kyle Brady was a great tight end, played in the NFL. We played together in the East-West Shrine game out of high school out in Reno, Nevada, and he called up and he wanted to go down to Miami. I didn't have Miami really on my radar, even though they were recruiting me heavily. So we decided to go ahead and make that trip as well. And I canceled the SMU trip because I'd never been to Texas. So, I took the recruiting as an opportunity to go experience things that I had never had the opportunity to experience as a youngster in Morgantown. So, but at the end of the day, I think I took an unofficial trip to Virginia Tech to watch Virginia Tech play West Virginia, and I took an unofficial trip to Penn State in order to watch Penn State play West Virginia. Unfortunately, West Virginia lost both of those games, so it really wasn't a good recruiting tool for West Virginia. But the reality of it was that my family had seen me play my entire career, and generally in high school, you could look and see in the crowds there's always this section, and that was my family, and it was the largest section in the stands, and at least as far as adults were concerned, and so there wasn't any real reason for me to think about going any place at the end of the day where my family couldn't come and see me play. So that's one of the main reasons why I ended up at WVU.
I thought maybe Bob Music might have recruited you.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I always mention Bob's name because everybody in Morgantown knows Bob from Morgantown.
Yeah, I remember Bob did the. I think he interviewed me whenever I was in 9th grade. He did the production for an ESPN. There's ESPN Honor Roll Athletes of the Week.
Yeah,
I was there and had won that award. And he did the came to my house and did the interview.
Wow, that's cool. That's awesome. Hey, Frank or Mickey, I'll let one of you guys jump in. I don't want to take all the time. So, Mickey, why don't you jump in there and hit David up a few questions, and then we'll turn it over to Frank.
Okay. Hey, Dave. Nice to meet you, sir. I played just a few years before you did back in the late '60s. Had the honor of playing for Bobby Bowden on the offensive side of the ball. Jim Carlin was our head coach. So our team almost came close to your record. I know you guys went undefeated in the regular season. We ended up going 10-1 my senior year. Penn State was the only team that beat us. But we had a couple players on our team from Morgantown. And I was always curious. You had several other offers to go out of state to different schools. Outside of having your family close so they could come watch the games, were there other deciding factors for you in terms of you choosing to stay in the Morgantown area? And did you ever feel like maybe you missed some of the college experience by not going out of state somewhere? Just curious about that.
I was a country kid, so to speak, and I grew up hunting, bow hunting, and things that in every fall. And we come out at lunchtime, and you turned on the radio, and you listened to the Mountaineer football game. And a lot of times you didn't end up, you went back in the woods if they ended up looking like they were going to lose, and if it looked like they were going to win, you might just spend the rest of the afternoon sitting in the old Jeep listening to the radio game. So. At the end of the day, I grew up a Mountaineer, and so that was pretty much home for me. Other factors were, whenever you looked at the class structure of the defensive backfield and the safeties in particular, West Virginia looked like at that point that I would have the opportunity. If I won the spot to start as a sophomore, because obviously, you look at the position you're going to play with other teams, and if there's already, so to speak, a sophomore that's a really, really good player, and you're like, well, I'm not going to be able to get that spot away from them, then those are factors as well. And I really didn't know whenever I went in. I didn't grow up thinking, hey, I'm going to go to business school and I'm going to go into finance and I want to do this or I want to do that. I was the first person in my family to graduate from college, so it wasn't like there was a whole bunch of guidance or experience to lean on as far as the family was concerned in that area. So I figured it was going to be a lot safer just to stay home.
There you go. Did you have a lot of West Virginia players on your team from the state of West Virginia?
Actually, no. There really weren't that many players on the team from West Virginia. There was, let me back that up and say whenever we were recruited, when I went in as a freshman, there were a number of players from West Virginia that were brought in, either as scholarship players or walk-ons. And after the first round of camp and everything, it seemed like about half of those disappeared, decided that, that wasn't where they needed to be. And so a lot of times they went to, Division II schools or just went home. Or in some cases, they just came in and said, hey, I can't stand being away from home. They just went home. Fortunately, I was in Morgantown, so I could just go home, and I was still at WVU.
There you go. There you go. Hey, just one last quick question here. I'll turn it over to Frank. You were instrumental in that game in which you guys upset Boston College to stay undefeated. Was Doug Flutie the quarterback on that team or not? I was just curious about that.
No, I'm pretty sure that was Foley.
Do you recall?
I'm pretty sure. No, Flutie was
Foley.
Okay.
It
was Foley. Yeah. No, he had it, but he threw an extremely fast football. I remember that because I missed an interception where he about took my gloves off my hands. Yeah, and the funny part about that game is stats looks halfway decent, but that's probably the only game that I know that I played with a concussion a considerable amount of the game. And back then, of course, nobody really knew how to check for that. There was just one particular play where I hit one of their running backs. They had a group of senior running backs that were like 240 pounders. They were running. It was their last game. They were running for everything they had. I engaged one, and I had him grilled up good, and we're going lateral, and one of our guys took us out, and so it simultaneously kind of catapulted me. I had a hold of him, and I'm giving it everything I got, and then legs got taken out, so I did a header right into the asphalt, which was the turf, because it was about 5 degrees that night.
Yeah,
and so the turf was as hard as concrete, and I did a header, and my shoulder pads came over top of my head. Of course, snot flew all over my face, and and I got up and I got my shoulder pads worked back down over my helmet and cleared my face, and got back off the line. And I'm looking over at Boston College's sideline, waiting for our call, and I hear some yelling, and finally, because I'm not seeing anybody, I couldn't find our call, and I turned around, and Mike Collins is yelling at me until I was looking the wrong direction, and he gave me a call, and I don't even know what Mike even signaled. All I knew was your safety, dig middle. So I just dug middle, and I got kind of squared away for the next play, and mentally I was fine. I knew where to be. I knew all the plays. I was reading everything, and I was exactly where I needed to be for every play. But physically, I was like an uncoordinated sandbag or something. I just couldn't. I couldn't.
Maybe a little concussion there, huh?
Yeah, I couldn't.
Maybe a little concussion.
Yeah.
Let me turn it over to Frank. He may have a couple for you. And then I think we need to make a transition here at some point, Frank.
Yeah, President Armstrong is going to be joining us from San Luis Obispo, California, where he's president of Cal Poly, in a few minutes. But I want to follow up on a question that Mickey brought up, and that was that magical season in 1993 when you guys, you experienced what very few football players anywhere at any level experience, and that is an undefeated regular season in the top, I think, 5 or 6 or 7 in the country. The first time West Virginia won the Big East, and you had obviously great teammates. You were back there with Bo Orlando. We've had Bo on the show. What was it like to be on a team that just isn't losing any games, and then pivot to that bowl game against Florida when the air went out of the balloon for sure?
Sure. And just to make sure we're getting the right air, Bo was the 88 undefeated team, and okay. Mike Collins was the strong safety.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's all right. I just want to make sure Mike gets credit. Yeah. And whenever you think of the secondary that we had, Mike Collins, who was an exceptional sectional strong safety, and then you got Tommy Orr, Mike Logan, Mike Beasley. You got 2 guys that played in the NFL that were playing the edges for us out there. So really made my job a lot easier, especially we played a lot of cover 4, quarters packages, things of that nature. So I always knew those guys were going to take care of the outside vertical stuff. It really freed us up to just kind of robe the middle and make plays. So that was kind of what I think that was the difference for us. We knew we had a strong defense going in, and actually I think I was the only one I predicted before the season on one of the shows that we would go undefeated because when I looked at the quarterbacks that the other teams had and their defenses. And of course, I'm a defensive guy, so quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over and defense that doesn't allow points. is going to win the game. So that was kind of the philosophy I had. So it didn't surprise me that we were able to go undefeated. The other teams didn't have quarterbacks as good as Studstill or Kelchner. Either one of those guys could have started for any of the teams that we were playing in the Big East. At least that's what I felt. So that made winning a lot easier. And then as far as the Florida game, we came out like wild men, and it was disappointing, without a doubt. It was very, very disappointing. And I have my own personal, I guess, memories of thoughts as to why the team formed kind of the way it did. But I think I'll keep those to myself, and because there's probably, we'll just let it go there. I think if we were to play 10 times against Florida that year, we're probably going to win half. They're going to win half. In that particular game, I just really don't think the guys felt like playing all that much after the first quarter, and so some of us wanted to keep fighting, and the rest of everybody else wanted to go home. So.
Well, it was still a fantastic season. I remember that, watching it from afar, and in the experience. And I read an article about you too, and it goes back to what Greg and Mickey were asking before, in terms of, sometimes when people make a decision like you did to go to West Virginia, et cetera, the big question is, would you do it all over again? And your response was, gee, if I had to go back, and if there was a replay, picking the school, playing, everything that was associated with it, you said, at least the reporter attributed it to you, I'd do the same thing all over again, which I think is a real credit to you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I had a great career at WVU, and I have no regrets. I wouldn't mind making a little bit more money like they do today, but either way.
Hey, Frank, I think I heard him say a little bit more money.
A little bit more than that $400 a month would have been. But it was, well, and it depends on how you look at it. It's hard. It's hard for us old guys that played, that played just to, for the fans and for the camaraderie and obviously for a scholarship that got us. A lot of us guys got degrees that we would have been challenged to get otherwise. So and it does. I see a lot of teammates and how successful they've been, and you would have never guessed that, knowing where they came from. And so it's just that is what college athletics is supposed to be about. And so I'd like to see it focused a little bit more on that sometime. But I understand, it's a for-profit business. I run a for-profit business, and but I would like to see, like we were talking about the baseball game. Those, I would have never guessed anybody there was involved with anything mill related. It looked like old. It just looked like good old West Virginia. Competition.
That's for sure. Hey, I see that our guest from California has joined us in the back room, David. We're doing a split thing tonight, so we're going to go from a CEO and back president to a university president. It's my pleasure to introduce the audience to President Jeff Armstrong, who's president of Cal Poly. And obviously we have him on because we got a baseball series this weekend, Jeff. So good to see you, and thank you for joining us.
Well, good to see you, Frank. Can you hear me okay?
A little bit more volume, I think.
Does that help?
A little bit. Yeah, technology is always an issue. it makes you feel better, Jeff. Our other guest, David Mayfield, I sent him a text and said, "Are you having trouble log in?" He said, "I don't have a link," and I sent it to the wrong email address. So it happens all the time. So
Right. How's that?
that's okay. Yeah, just go ahead.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find the settings so I could change it. It's a little new system to me.
How about that?
Oh, beautiful! You did it.
Perfect.
Yep.
All right.
You guys must be excited beyond belief out there.
Yeah, this is our first super regional. We were in the regional last year in Oregon. We made it to the championship game. We beat Oregon on the way to the championship game, but lost out of the losers bracket. And I have to tell you, I was rooting against West Virginia, not because I didn't want to play you, my dear friend. Frank and I go way back. But we had a really good chance of hosting if Kentucky had been in the mix. So there you have it.
Well, and I told the guys, you're from Kentucky originally, from Western Kentucky, and you still have that Kentucky brogue. But, as I mentioned in getting ready for this, Jeff, a lot of people in this neck of the woods don't know much about Cal Poly. So before you talk about your team, say a few words about Cal Poly, the university, where it fits in the California system, and what drew you to apply and become president out there.
Well, and it certainly, remind your viewers that you and I worked together for many, many years, a decade at Michigan State. And I always thought I would be at a West Virginia, Purdue, Michigan State. Cal Poly is a master's-only university. It's part of the California State University. We just integrated the only maritime academy on the West Coast. So we're learned by doing engineering, business, agriculture, some of the largest ag and engineering programs in the country, and we're known for learn by doing. And our graduates are highly sought after. Just to give you an idea of the demand we have, we turned away almost 37,000 qualified applicants for fall of 25, and we're therefore trying to grow. It's pretty amazing. But I love higher education, especially what it does for first-generation students, as I was one. My wife was first-generation. And West Virginia is a great university. I've visited there in the past. And you really touch a lot of lives at West Virginia. So a land grant.
Yeah, it's. I'm glad you gave the application numbers, because a lot of people don't realize just what a good school. In fact, you think of the California system with Cal Poly, UCLA, Cal Berkeley, and I don't want to leave other schools out, but they're always the top of the public lists. So we appreciate that. Let me start off by asking a question about this team, because we're going to see them this weekend in Morgantown. And as you can expect, the place is going bonkers. This is huge for all West Virginians and all WVU faculty, staff, alums, and so on. I'll kick it to Greg Chris, my co-host, but give us a thumbnail overview of the baseball team, and then after you're done with that, Greg, take over and ask a few questions.
Well, it really starts with the culture and the coach. Larry Lee is a more than 2-decade coach at Cal Poly. He's quite amazing. And he was not plus too much at all after winning the super regionals. We still have work to do. And that culture goes through the team. I think we're both pretty much in common with this streak that West Virginia's on. I mean, we swept through with no losses in our UCLA regional. We beat St. Mary's twice, who beat UCLA twice. And I wouldn't want to play us. I think West Virginia is saying the same thing. I don't think other teams want to play us, because you had some really dynamic come from behind games, and we've had those as well. Our team batting average is a little over 300, and our opponents are under 260. And the pitching has gotten much better. So we're in a really good conference, the Big West. We think out west we don't get the respect we deserve, but we're just excited and blessed to be part of this. But it really starts with culture, with our coaches, and really solid student athletes. I heard your previous guest talking about, student athletes, and I appreciate that.
Jeff, I was that curious. You mentioned culture. Let's talk about culture shock. I don't know how close to the pulse you are with the players, but I would have to think coming from California over to the other coast, to West Virginia in the mountains, might be a bit of a culture shock for them. Does the coaching staff or players worry about, what they're coming into? I know, the atmosphere, you can see that on TV. Of course, you can't really experience it until you're there. But is there any feelings about that one way or another? I know you guys are a good baseball team and expect to come out here and win. But at the same time, I think, as fans, if you see West Virginia going on the road, to say a North Carolina or somewhere like that, you think, man, well, I don't know if we got a chance or not. But is there any talk of that, the culture difference or anything of that nature?
I think Coach Lee, it's a really good question. I think Coach Lee's going to have them focused on one pitch at a time, one strike at a time, and we play in some pretty gnarly environments. One of our big rivals is UC Santa Barbara, and we tied for the Big West Conference this year, and then they were knocked out in the Big West tournament, and so we won the tournament. And then Fullerton, Fullerton's got some real history in baseball. Fresno State's not in our conference, but we took some games from them. Both of those teams are World Series experienced teams some time ago. But, going on the road and going back east, playing a game on their biological clock at 9 o'clock in the morning, all of those things come into play. But I think the experience they had last year at playing at Oregon is beating Oregon at home was a good test for a lot of the players. But we know we got our hands full.
Yeah, it should be fun to watch. We're excited about it here, and I know you guys are too, which makes for a good game coming up, we hope, and it should be a lot of fun. Mickey, before we run out of time here with him, I'm going to let you jump in real quick and fire him a question or two.
Hey, thank you, Greg. President Armstrong, it's a pleasure to meet you, sir. Any friend of Frank Fears is a friend of ours. That's for certain. Hey, I just have one quick question for you, President. You mentioned that Cal Poly is a master's only university. It's not an undergraduate degree university.
No.
Is that correct?
No, I misspoke. Master's is our highest degree. The vast majority of our we have 23,500 students, with all but 1,000 of those are undergraduates. So we've got architecture, engineering, business, agriculture, largest wine and viticulture program in the country, over 6,500 engineers. I think the fourth largest ag college in the country. So it's largely undergraduates. So thanks for asking that so I could clear that up.
Well, I just want to make sure I understood that. I was thinking, well, if that's the case, maybe these guys only have 2 years of eligibility. They get their master's there and then they're gone, but that's not the case. My misunderstanding. So you mentioned the biological time clock there, and I just wonder how much influence you think that might have. Do you know when the baseball team's coming out, or have they come out to Morgantown already? The game, I think, on Friday is at noon, so it'll really be 9 a.m. your time, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct. I don't know the logistics of when they're coming out. I suspect they'll come out. If they're not traveling today, they'll certainly travel tomorrow. And I suspect they'll fly to Pittsburgh and jump on a bus for an hour-and-a-half ride, as I understand it.
We're certainly looking forward to the matchup. Okay. So will the Mountaineers. It should be a great series. I'm really looking forward to watching it. Frank?
Yeah, I'm really bummed because I can't figure out how to make it. I was there for most of the regional. I was there for all of it last year, but we are cutting the ribbon on the John Madden Football Center on Saturday. We're Division I, obviously. We're FCS football, and John Madden is one of our alumni. Victor Glover, who just orbited the moon, the pilot of Artemis. He's a Cal Poly grad who played football and wrestled.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah, I'm glad to see John Madden getting that notoriety. He certainly deserves it. He was a man that was certainly influential on me as when I was growing up as a kid. No doubt about it.
Yeah, I was able
Frank,
to
that's about all I had. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Mickey.
Yep. Jeff, you know what I was thinking? We had a mutual colleague at Michigan State by the name of Dan Clay, who was an avocation, would analyze all kinds of data associated with athletic competition. And I remember over a beer once, he said, you know, everybody talks about travel, and he said it really works when you go from east to west, or it doesn't work. That when teams go from east to west, it can be a big issue. But he says that my data that I've been poring over doesn't suggest the same level of concern happens when you go west to east. Ever since he said that, I've watched it, and you can see it when a team goes out west. It can really give you problems.
The other thing is we have been very fortunate with our donors. They've invested in baseball. We've been able to invest as a university in baseball. We have one of the nicer parks, Baggett Stadium. Ozzie Smith is a Cal Poly grad. I grew up a Cardinal fan, so I love that. And we were one of very few D1 programs to use the Kinetrax data program. And our closer, Nick Bond, who throws about 100 miles an hour or more, that system helped him just in what you couldn't pick up with the naked eye, just some pivot and turn, and added about 4 or 5 miles per hour. And I'm not giving you any inside information. That's in a story because our undergraduate students were involved in that work, and it's been reported in our magazine and reported online.
Yeah. I think the average fan may be more focused on other sports like football and basketball, don't realize the impact of sports science on baseball. You know, everybody talks about analytics. That's fine. You know, should you shift? Should you be bringing the right-hander at a certain? That's important. There's no question. But the sports science, especially at the university level, is just amazing. And anybody who's been on campus in Morgantown, had a chance to visit the baseball facilities, knows that is taken very seriously. And what it's, you know, and the great thing, you know, you and I are both in higher education, to see the direct connection of science to an activity, particularly when it's higher education. Yeah, gee, we wish you'd see that more in other domains. But just to reinforce what you're saying, it's important. And the other thing I would mention too is that I've poured, as the guys knows, I'm a stat geek. I've poured over the stats, and when you line up West Virginia and Cal Poly in baseball, if you put your hand over the column on top, you wouldn't know which team is which. Yeah. Because as you go down the column, ERA, batting average, I think you got 5 guys hitting over 300. It looks very similar to West Virginia. And the other thing that's important, even though the Big West is not a major conference, the way that, you know, the SEC, the Big Ten, et cetera, is, when you look at strength of schedule, there's not that much difference between West Virginia's strength of schedule and Cal Poly's strength of schedule. So when you do that digging in, look at it right here. You look at the RPI is different, and that's understandable given the difference in the leagues. But if you look at the strength of schedule, it's 55 West Virginia, 55 Cal Poly, and 49 West Virginia. And as you said, you look at that batting average, you look at the pitching, and then you look at those guys on the right. I mean, this Ryan Taman is being is being touted as one of the best catchers in the country. You got a great set of players there, Jeff.
Well, no, thank you, and you do as well. I wasn't able to watch as much of West Virginia versus Kentucky as I wanted to, but yeah, Taman is he's a really amazing catcher, and he was just named the most outstanding male athlete for our entire program the other night. So he's pretty special. These young men are great, and you had a couple of pitchers there as well that are pretty amazing. You've got Griffin Ness, Carson Turnquist. They're both doing pretty well right now, and we need good pitching because West Virginia Mountaineers know how to hit.
Yeah, that's right. And again, you look at those. You've got at least two frontline starters, and at least two frontline relievers. And it comes down to the pitching. We've seen that over and over again. And so Jeff, I'm looking at the watch now. How much more time do you have with us? We've gone a little bit over. I'm good to go a little longer. It's up to you, Frank. Good. Well, one of the things I mentioned to you that we might ask, and we ask this almost every week of our guests, and I'll turn it over to Greg here. As you know, Greg, and Mickey, we talk all the time with our guests about where are college sports, where do they think it should go, where is it going, but we never have an executive like Jeff on the line. So, Greg, do you want to frame that a little bit better than I did and let Jeff add it?
Yeah, when we were talking earlier about student athletes and that sort of thing. Of course, we have the Neal issue now, and the transfer portal and all that. I'm just curious because again, we don't know a lot about Cal Poly being so far away, but how big of an impact has like the transfer portal and Neal had on you guys? It
is a totally different era than we had a few years ago. I'm really hopeful that this current legislation will pass and get us back into just some standardized rules and 5 years of eligibility, transfer one time, if not, sit out a year. I like that. We have lost some of our football players for really large amounts to the Michigans of the world, but I'm also equally proud that our basketball team's on the rise, and we only lost one player in the portal. Our women's volleyball upset number 4 and number 5 team in the country this past fall, and they were in the Sweet 16, and they did not lose a single player to the portal. So we're seeing that scholarships and in some sports a little bit of revenue sharing and the degree is having an impact. Wanting that Cal Poly degree. But, we have a player that's offered $1 million or $2 million and they leave. If I get a chance, I'm going to shake their hand because, and say congratulations. But I also want to tell the players, if you're good enough, they'll find you at Cal Poly. They'll find you at West Virginia. And you don't have to be at an Alabama or an Indiana. Frank knows Michigan State. We never thought we would have Indiana as a national champion, but look what happened there. That was quite amazing. Yep. So I got lots of friends that are Hoosiers that are pretty happy, but it's a really interesting time, Greg. And I like where we are in the world of FCS Division I football. We have I'm going to dinner tonight with our 4 NCAA wrestlers who made it to the championship. They won the conference. They made it to the NCAA championships. So we have a tradition of when they're not trying to make weight, I'm going to buy all the sushi they can eat.
Fatten them up a little bit.
Yeah. Those young men can eat sushi. The other thing that we're really excited about is women's flag football. We are very intentionally being one of the first to have women's flag football scholarships. It's going to be in the Olympics in LA in 28. Roger Goodell said there will be a pro league for women's flag football, and we've just signed one of, if not the top player in the country just recently. So we're in it to win it.
Awesome. Very unique story. You mentioned the legislation. One thing that worries me about that is, and I think you're right, I think it's a good legislation. We've got to have some legislation to get this under control. But the SEC and the Big Ten have both come out as opposing this legislation. And I said that's a little bit worrisome when those guys, are fighting against you. But something has to be done. And I think, one of the reasons I think are okay. They like competing with the pro leagues, and I just heard a story today about a young man that signed with Kentucky, got in a little bit of a NIL bidding war with Louisville and somebody else, and ended up signing with Kentucky for $6.5 million.
Wow,
which is more, they said, than the first round draft pick would get in his rookie contract. And he said, the SEC. They like that and Big Ten because they want to be seen as being competitive with the pro leagues when it comes to the finances and that sort of thing. But I think from a fan's perspective, and really a lot of other people's perspective, it's just out of control right now. And unfortunately for a lot of schools, you're just you're a training ground. You get a good player in, you coach him up for a year or two, he's off to Michigan, like you said, for $1 million. So you can't fault the kid for that. But
no, that's a really great point. You can't fault these young men and women from moving around. But I can't remember the school, but one young man, turned down the portal and I think went to the pros anyway, the punchline was, I want to be recognized as graduating from my university versus having attended several universities. Again, I'm not faulting that. I mean, we all have players who are playing a year, they have that graduate eligibility, and that's a great thing for that young man and helping that program. But it's good to have some rules and get the trust exception. And if we end up with the players being employees, then we've got another whole can of worms that are a problem for us.
Yeah. Frank and I have talked about this too many times, and Mickey, at some point, the buckets of money that are pouring in, at some point, people were going to be saying, wait a minute, I just keep giving millions of dollars and what am I getting in return other than the satisfaction of winning? You win it, then that satisfaction's there. Yeah. You got it. Is the money will keep coming.
And I don't want to sound like we're bragging, but we had a tough year in football, and we're coming back strong with a new coach, Tim Skipper. Our basketball team's coming back, but in almost all the other sports in our conference, we won a trophy. We won the Commissioner's Cup for the Big West, and I'm proud of that, and I'm proud of our donors that have been supporting. We started beach volleyball several years ago and hired an Olympic gold medalist, Todd Rogers, and we've been in the top 3 or 4 every year and just couldn't get by UCLA this year. So I think that's going to be our first D1 national championship.
Awesome. Pretty cool hearing about all these different types of sports.
Yeah.
Mickey is trying to, from what I understand, been trying to drum up interest in lingerie football at WVU, but so far he hasn't had much luck. Sounds like Cal Poly might be the place.
Well, Frank knows me well enough that I'm going to pass on that one.
Absolutely.
Jeff, we appreciate you so much for joining us. It's been very enlightening, and we're looking forward to the game and you guys coming out.
Well, I have to say, as you said, anybody, Mickey, you said anybody that's a friend of Frank's is a friend of ours. Amen. I wouldn't be sitting here as president of Cal Poly if not for my colleague Frank Fear and how we worked together over the years at Michigan State. So I want to say that to you, Frank. Thank you in public in front of all your viewers.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you, Jeff. But I've been telling everybody you're going to be impressed with Jeff, and I'll leave it at this. If the worm had turned a little bit differently, you would be on the show, but not from Cal Poly, but from Morgantown. And but that's history, and we're great. It's great to see you, and we're really, really proud of you and everything you've accomplished and are doing, not only at Cal Poly, but for higher education and what you represent in that leadership role. So, Jeff, from all of us, we really appreciate it. Kathy Fear says hello. She's watching tonight. And say hello to Sharon for us. And
yeah,
thanks so much for taking the time.
We'll see you next time I'm out there to see my grandkids.
Great. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Great job.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Wasn't he something?
Oh, yeah.
So,
yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
The good thing is we still have David hanging in the background.
Yeah. Let's. Why don't we bring David back on? Why don't we bring him back on here for a second, and then we'll turn to other things. And one of the things we always want to ask former players, David, is. But let me back off first. Any thoughts you want to share about the interaction with President Armstrong, and then what he said, and then I want to ask you a football question.
Well, the only one I was thinking about was how are they going to ensure that only biological women play in the flag football league?
Yeah, I don't know.
That sounds like something I could have done well at.
Yeah, well, we're gonna. I'll talk to my attorney and be back in touch. But at any rate, the football question is this: we always ask former players whether, no matter how you feel about West Virginia over the last 5, 6, 10 years, what are your thoughts from what you hear, what you see, how you feel about the second go around for Rich Rod?
You know, I was in the fan of the decision. Rich did a fantastic job for us whenever he was here the first time around. It'd been nice if he'd exited in a better fashion. But I do believe he's a good coach. I actually coached against him whenever he was at Glenville, and I was at Wesleyan, coached in secondary for a year. And but I mean, he's a good coach, and he'll figure out a way to win because, like I said earlier, that a lot of times, a lot of the guys that went to WVU and on walk-ons or didn't look like they were going to play, went down to the lower levels. He recruited them in, put teams together, and won a lot of games down there. And I think with knowing the fact that West Virginia is not going to win the financial wars against these large schools for football players, you're going to need somebody that knows how to get creative, and I think Rich is probably about our best bet with that. Just to say, okay, we're just going to stick to a culture, but we're going to figure out a way to win based on the talent that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. By the way, I just got a text from Jeff Armstrong to Mickey's. The answer to your question, Mickey, is that they just touched down. He said in Morgantown. My guess is that I wonder if they flew into Morgantown Airport or down in the Bridgeport area. I don't know. At any rate, they've touched down in West Virginia, so they're here on a Wednesday for a Friday game, which makes sense. I think it just makes sense. Yeah.
Sure.
Any last
Give
questions?
Give them a day to get oriented.
That's right. Any last questions for David, Greg, at your end?
I did have one about the NIL. I just wanted to get David's thoughts on the NIL and the transfer portal and what he think needs to be done to get things under control a little bit better.
I think the president earlier was that legislation to say, hey, listen, if you're going to transfer, Division I to Division I, and you're going to sit out a year. I think that's a great rule, because when you think about it, you could have it. Where's the academic standards, and going from this? How are you possibly going to get a degree playing at this school for 1 year, then going to this school for another year, then that one for another year? Most of us with half a brain have to assume that, well, you were there for a year, and you probably didn't make the grades there, so you had to go to another one so you could restart the clock on that. So you had to go to another one so you could restart the clock on that. It just doesn't make sense to me. Either it's going to be collegiate athletics, where it's student athletes, or it's going to be a minor league sports team of some nature, and separate it from the school altogether.
And this may be something you don't can't answer or don't want to answer, but there has been talk among several WVU former players about putting together some advisory groups, to help these young people with finances and that sort of thing. You've been a bank president, dealing with finances, understand that very well. Have you been contacted by anyone about any issues like that?
No, I can't. Nobody said anything. I'm on a chat group with a lot of the guys that played, and I haven't seen anything discussed of that nature on that chat line. Okay.
Just curious of that, because we've had some discussion about that, and thought it was a great idea that some of you guys that do have financial backgrounds could formulate some kind of group that could help these guys. It's like Owen Schmidt told me, you give me $250,000 and I'm 19 years old, you know what's going to happen. Yeah,
I can only imagine. Have a really expensive part, and don't get me wrong. I believe with the amount of money that's being generated in collegiate sports, especially Division I football and basketball and things of that nature, that there should be some way to make it a lot easier for athletes to be able to exist and commit the time to the sport, but also commit the time to the books. And if you got to worry about money, it really makes things a lot more difficult than it needs to be when there's that much money involved in the sport to begin with.
Yep. Agree. Frank, Mickey, anything before we wrap up with David?
I think we're good to go.
I think we're good here, Dave. Thanks for joining us tonight. We certainly appreciate it, sir.
Hey, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me, fellas.
Yep, appreciate your patience waiting on us to get done with the president and hanging around with us. We really do appreciate it. Again, we love watching you play. Always proud of our former Mountaineers. You were a great player and obviously a very successful person now, and we're grateful that you took some time to spend with us. Appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Y'all have a great evening.
All right. Thank you. David Mayfield.
See you in Morgantown.
There you go.
Bye now.
Bye. Yeah,
All
it's.
right.
I asked Mark Parsons, who reached out to get, as Mark always does, to get his guests, and I said, well, how would you describe David Mayfield in a sentence or two? And he said, man, could he hit?
He was a hitter.
Could he hit? And
playing with some of those names that he mentioned back there.
Oh,
but yet he's still
got to
very well known. That tells you something about his ability, because he played with some good players back there as well. Like
exactly.
Those guys were good.
Before we sign out, Darren, I'm sorry, Greg, go ahead.
They had a reputation back then too of hitting people. That was one of the things they were known for. And you heard people talk about it all the time. So you may catch the ball, but you're going to know somebody's waiting on you to to welcome you to the ground. So they had a good reputation.
Absolutely. Just for a second, Darren, if you could throw up that baseball chart again. Thanks for putting it up before, but this is the thing I think that, and actually I've seen a few comments on Facebook with fans getting ahead of themselves. Well, we got this super regional wrapped up, and who are we going to play next? Are we going to play Troy, or are we going to play? Who are they playing? Oh, Little Rock. And I responded to one and said, as Mickey knows, and Greg, with your coaching experience, the kiss of death is getting ahead of yourselves.
That's right.
Nobody's, people don't, and there actually are two Cal Polys. This is Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. There's another Cal Poly, and so you can get confused. Well, they're nothing. Well, they are something. If you look at the only weakness I can think of is not in the players, but is in the level of competition. They whizzed through the Big West, didn't win it. They came in second. I think Santa Barbara won it. They won 40 games, but they haven't been very good away or against power schools. And the power schools they played, USC, Washington State, Oregon State, they did play UCLA. And a lot of people have criticized, well, you play who you play. St. Mary's took care of UCLA. They didn't play UCLA in the regional, but they played, Pac-12 schools. Pac-12 schools. I don't think there was any other. Oh, Virginia Tech. They beat Virginia Tech in the regionals. So, but they're 3-9 against power schools. We're a power school. They're away. But the thing I would say it's going to come down to, and I'll ask you guys what you think, but maybe it's because I'm sort of I think in a monotone. I think it's going to come down to pitching again. You look at that ERA, it's 4.76. They've got good pitchers, but not a lot of depth. The relievers are good. This Bond that Jeff was talking about, he throws a fireball, and Estes is very good too. They got a strong infield. You can see Taman he leads a team in batting average, home runs, and RBIs. He's an out you got to get, but I think it's going to come down to pitching. Greg, and then Mickey, what do you think?
Yeah, and Frank's like I told you last week, baseball's different. Football, basketball, and Mickey, you know this. If you've got better players, you're usually going to win. Baseball's not necessarily like that. You may have the best pitcher, but not the best players and the best team. But you may win because your pitching's so good. So you never know in baseball, and I don't think hopefully, I'm sure the Mountaineers are not taking this team lightly. They are in a super regional. No matter what the name is on their jersey, they're in a super regional too. So they can obviously play baseball. So that they've got to focus in, and I know it's a cliche, one game at a time. They got to take care of business, and they probably are favored, but that don't matter. And again, it don't matter in baseball. You mentioned me coaching and how you deal with that. One year, it was my last year coaching. In fact, played a team in a tournament over in Beckley. It was a Gym Justice tournament, as a matter of fact, and I don't think we've been paid for that yet. I'm sorry, Darren. I'm sorry. Anyway, we played that tournament game over there, and we beat a team in a championship game by 36 points. That was on a Wednesday night. On Saturday night, we played them again at my gym at home, and they beat us by 2. So, and I know what happened. The kids didn't think that team had a chance against them. So it happens, and you can't take teams lightly. I don't care, what level they play in, what conference they play in, especially baseball. That's a different game, and you've got to be ready to go. So I'm sure the Mountaineers will be too.
Yeah, Mickey.
Well, defense wins championships, and to me, defense in baseball is 80% pitching, 20% fielding. And we have excellent fielding. We've got excellent pitching. Top 3 pitchers in the Big 12. So, yeah, for me, Frank, it comes down to pitching as well. Although it doesn't hurt to have Guzman up there in a clutch situation when you need a clutch hit. He's come through just about every time. And the other thing, I know everybody thinks this about their own team. We're all homers. But this team really, Frank, as you pointed out, as we were texting each other the other night, this team has a heart that, just haven't seen previously in the baseball area. No discouraging words against previous teams. They all were excellent. This team seems to have a little something extra. Just, to be down 3 runs to Kentucky and then score 5 in order to pull out that 11-9 victory. just absolutely astounding. And you just had that feeling when you watch them, no matter how far they're down. In the first game against Kentucky, they were down 6-0, came all the way back. So this team seems to have a little something a little extra. I think will carry them through to Omaha.
Yeah. Both very good thoughts, and go to the bank with what you said, Greg, and what you said, Mickey, and just to pick up on that heart concept, it's there. And I posted on Facebook the other day, I thought I would never see again what happened last year in Clemson when the Mountaineers were done, really. Bottom of the eighth. Yeah, bottom of the eighth. And they were down 12-7, was it? 12-6? 12-7, and scored 6-1, 6 runs, shut out the Wildcats in the top of the ninth, and won 13-12. Guzman was in the middle of that. And here, lo and behold, it's 5-1, then it's 5-5, and you say the momentum has shifted, we're in trouble, and here comes Guzman. And that swing was just a thing of beauty. That center fielder didn't have a chance, and we win the game, and all hell breaks loose. And no sweeter words sung with "Take Me Home." I mean, it was the most electric version of that song I've ever. Yeah, Country Roads, never, just incredible.
Yep.
And so, let's just go out and get them on the weekend.
Yep, sounds good. That was like you said, improbable comebacks, several of them, and then the atmosphere again with the fans and the interactions with the players and singing after the game, all great stuff. And like I said, I really think it's going to pay some dividends down the road as well for people to see this on a national scale. And
That's right.
It's been, like you said, all over ESPN, all over the internet. And it's nothing but good stuff for us. So, yeah, we just need to continue this, take care of business this weekend, and like Mickey said, get on down to Omaha and let's do some work. So, anyway, guys, great show again, and I really enjoyed this one. I'm kind of getting to where I just like to sit back and listen to the show as opposed to rambling and bumbling and fumbling.
No, it's all good. And we got another good one coming up next week, Greg. We're gonna we've run 4 DBs in a row, 4 weeks of defensive backs, but next week we're going to shift sports, so we can't have a defensive back. And Darren's going to throw up the graphic there, and there you go. Brett Solheim, a local guy. Yeah, he's living in West Virginia, is going to be our special guest next week. Great job with Mountaineers as a Mountaineer cager under why am I blanking on his name? Our coach. Boy. Pardon?
Fred Shelch?
No. He played later. God, no. Is anybody still alive who played?
Probably Gail Catlett, I guess.
No.
Bob Huggins.
Yes, thank you. Oh boy, I'll tell you, I'm brain dead. Can we cut that out of the show, Darren? I tell you, yeah, just great. Guys, I'm getting at the age if it's not written down, I can't remember it. So anyway, and we also want to do this. If you could throw up the promo there, we want to give a shout out to when we're in Morgantown. It's true; these are go-to places for us. Colasante's, great Italian food. We were just there about a month or so ago in Westover. We strongly recommend it. And, of course, Kegler's. We were also there about a month ago, which is the gathering place in Morgantown. We just want to give a shout-out to Anthony Colasante and also Doug and Jerry at Kegler's for being so gracious to us to have us there multiple times. And we're looking forward to going back. And we just want to give a big shout-out. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you. And we appreciate all you for tuning in tonight for another visit inside the Mountaineer locker room then and now. We appreciate your viewing. Mickey, thank you. Frank, thank you. Darren, thank you for your background work. Thanks to our great guests tonight, David Mayfield and Jeff Armstrong, both fantastic guests. enjoyed talking to those guys a whole bunch, and I will look forward to coming to you again next week with Brett Solheim. Thank you for watching Mountaineer Locker Room Then and Now on New River Network and Voice College Football. For these guys, good night.